go over what your name is and what kingdom you came from, if you care to tell me, and then why you took advanced sword and board. And try to be specific so I can really help you, because I want to make sure I cover what you want covered, so this is beneficial to you. So we'll start here.
I'm J-Man. I'm from Inland Ocean, part of Black Spire right now. I'm taking this class because, well, I started sword and board, but I've been mainly fighting single sword the last year and a half or so, so I want to diversify my skills now.
Okay, cool.
I'm Stumped from Dragon's Forge in Black Spire. Taking this, I want to get better at doing wraps and blocking.
Wraps and blocking. Okay, cool.
My name's Tom. I'm from Dragon's Forge out of Black Spire. And I'm taking this because I want to get better on defense with my sword and board.
Okay, cool. Defense will be a big topic.
Okay, my name's Dante. I'm from Dragon's Forge, out of Black Spire. And I'm here to try to counteract the fastness of sword knights. Other people that are faster than me, like Robin.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And I'm basically here because I need to learn how to get around a shield and to block certain shots.
Okay, cool. What certain shots?
Like wraps over the shoulder.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna talk about that for sure. All right. So, to kind of get on a soapbox for a minute. If you really want to get to the point where you're an advanced sword and board fighter and you're really good, you want to beat sword knights. I think that's an awesome goal. If you want to do that, there's really only one way to do it, and that's practice. And what I recommend for that, other than just fighting other people, is get yourself like a punching bag. Like I just got a $60 punching bag with water in the bottom of the base to hold it. You're not kicking it over or anything, so that works for you. And then just practice throwing shots at it. What I recommend is 100 shots with your main hand, 200 shots with your offhand, and 100 stabs with each hand. And then we're going to go over later exact form for certain shots. You'll want to practice that as well. And practice how you play. So if you wear gloves when you're fighting, wear gloves when you're practicing. If you fight sword and board and you want to get better at sword and board, have your board in your hand while you're throwing your shots, because then you're going to know body positioning. And then visualize. So that's not a punching bag I'm hitting, that's my opponent, and that's his hip. And then you just get used to seeing yourself doing that over and over and over again hundreds of times. So when it really happens in real life, it's nothing, it's automatic. It's something you've done to that punching bag like 1,000 times by the time you hit the field. So that's going to help you. If you want some exercises, jump rope is really awesome for footwork. I have some other stuff I posted on eSam a long time ago. If you want a copy of that, talk to me afterwards and I'll see if I can remember where I posted it and get it to you. That's a whole workout. It takes about 30 minutes and it'll help you get way better at sword and board. Footwork will be faster, your shots will be crisper and cleaner. So that's my little soapbox about practice. The first part we'll talk about is defense, because in my opinion defense is the most important thing. And defense starts with your stance. So if you go ahead and get in your typical stance, we'll talk about that for a few minutes. Okay, I like most of what I see. What I recommend is everyone's left foot forward, I think, so shield foot forward, which is very good. It's a good defensive stance. You can block a lot of shots. What I recommend is like, if you're ever taking the martial arts, it's called a bow stance. So this foot's kind of pigeon toed in, and this foot's toe lines up the heel of this foot. And then you stand like that, your shield up. And defense starts, let me ask the question, does anyone know where defense starts? Your feet? Almost. Okay, so defense starts with your knees. And the way you defend, some people's specific goals were how to defend wraps and stuff like that. The way you defend those shots is you don't actually move your shield, your body moves your shield. So if someone's going to ass wrap me, I'm going to shift my weight to my right foot and lean to the left. My shield comes over, and I'm still defended, I'm still covered up, and my shield blocks that. So it's just a shift. And if you're going to block high, you just shift a little higher and up. I call it a gangster lean. So just throw the gangster lean out. It's a good term to help you remember. So come here real quick. And so if I'm going to throw a wrap at him, keep your shield like just normal, I can get around him. But now go ahead and lean with it. So, okay, I can't really get around him. And then say I step in and really commit for the wrap, I still can't get around him. But before, if you keep your shield straight up with me, I'm going to get around you anytime. Anyone who throws a really monster wrap is going to get around you. So it's a lean. So if you see someone commit hard for wrap, all you have to do is lean. And then the best part of that is that you can just return right after that. You don't have to do much of anything to return fire, and they're committed to a wrap, so you got an easy shot. So remember, defense starts with your stance, nice and deep, and with your knee, just rotating your weight. All you have to do is shift your weight. It's really minor. It's not even that major of a thing, and you can block that ass wrap. Everyone, it's really good because everyone's about my height, maybe a little bit taller. How tall are you? Yeah, you're a little taller. You may have to adjust some of this, but for the most part, if your shield's big enough and yours seems like it is, then you can just rotate. That's all you got to do. Just a slight rotation. You don't want to open up that much. So that's that's the primary way to defend wraps. And high wraps too. Come over here again. So if I want to go high on him and I press in to go high, I can hit him. Now lean. I can't hit him. I can't get that wrap over. I mean, to get that wrap over, I'm going to have to come all the way here, and I still can't get it over. There's your way to defend wraps. Very simple. So stay in your stance and use your weight. Just shift your weight, and you'll see a big improvement in your blocks right away, right off the bat. So if you remember that, it's good. Some people recommend defending hips, the sword side hips the same way. You can just lean into it. You can also take your sword and block down with it to defend that. It's okay. I'm not in a lot of favor for that for sword and board because you only have one offensive weapon and you're locking it down into blocking. So, use it sparingly, but if you really need it, just put it down there. Your hips defend it. So, that's pretty much defense. Yeah, so I told you about blocking the ass wrap, the top side, the inside. Even if I'm way past the shield, I'll pick on someone else this time. Come here real quick. So, say I get my hand all the way over here. Go ahead and just lean. You have to be careful, though, not to overlean. Because if I do that, I can do that. People are mainly not going to do that. So, just look out. You see it do that? Just do it. And then in your stances, I didn't see anyone doing it, but I want to point out, never, ever, I pretty much tell you that anything that I tell you, just adapt it to what you do already and add it to your repertoire, get better, whatever, but never hunch. If you hunch, you're just opening yourself up to everything. Stand up tall in your stance and then bend your knees. That's going to help you a lot. And then you're in good shape as far as that goes. So ranging and distance, I talked about practicing with the punching bag. If you're going to break out a new sword, especially if you're going to go to a tournament, don't break out a new sword, but if you have to, range it in. Go to your punching bag, go to your wall, go to some kind of post, I don't care, and make sure you know what your distance is. Because if I don't know how close I have to be to hit him, I'm going to be hitting his shield. I have no idea what I need to do. So I recommend 36s. It's obviously up to you what you want to use. I would say no more than 38 for sword and board, which is why I'm not teaching with that thing. That's really just a ditch field kind of fishing sword where you're just kind of doing that. It's really not great, but I broke my short, so that's how I'm using it. It's really one of my Florentine offhand swords. So make sure you range your swords in. And then in this part, we'll talk about how to close. You let someone close with you, what happens when they close with you? And then what will you do? So when you approach a fight, after you've fought someone a couple times, you pretty much know what they're going to do. You'll know they're going to try to high cross me, they're going to try to ass wrap me, whatever. So when you approach them, know that they're going to do that, and then figure out what you're going to do to counteract it already in your head. It's like poker. Knowing what they're going to do is more important than knowing what you're going to do. Because if you know what they're going to do, you can react to it faster and like 80% of people are just going to throw the same thing over and over again, especially if it worked on you once. If it worked on you once, then they're like, oh, I know it works on him, and they're going to try to use it again. So just go in knowing that. As far as ranging goes, so if I'm fighting him and we're right here and we have distance, you know, I can't do much from here. My options are kind of limited. Pretty much what most of Amp-Guard does is get right here and then throw this silly old high cross that I hate. It's an okay shot, but if you throw it more than, say, half the time, more than 25% of the time, I would put it in the refrigerator and bring it out later after you've practiced these other shots you learned today. It's an okay shot, but the other stuff is going to work for you much better. But so the question now is, what do I do to get here? Because this is where you really want to be, is right here, because all kinds of avenues open up for you. So here's what you do. You're in your typical stance, you're approaching someone, you slide this back foot up. So this doesn't look much different than this. It looks almost the same to the person you're fighting, but your range has just gone way up, and they don't know it. So they're, you know, you're fighting them, and you're swinging shots, you slide that foot up, and then your range has gone way up. You can do whatever at that point. But if you stay here, you're limited. You can't do much because your back foot is holding you back. So you need to bring that foot up. For fighting Florentiners, that's especially good. They're coming at you, swinging shots or whatever. You're kind of standing back, let them swing. When you slide that foot up, you've got range on them now. They just don't know it. So that's a big secret. And now that you know it, watch people's back feet. They're sliding it up, they're coming. So never close like this. So if I'm going to close on him, don't step. Because if I step, look what happens with my right foot forward. Yeah, my hip. It's just totally, so it looks kind of dumb, but do it anyway. Just slide the whole time. And if you're going to circle someone, which I highly recommend, then go ahead and slide this way. Keep them going. Don't cross your feet up ever, and don't step ever. Those are the two things you don't want to do, because they'll get you killed. Unless you're running down a pole arm, and then you just have to run really fast, so you kind of have to. So that's pretty much the deal with ranging and distance. Make sure I didn't forget anything. Okay, so then the question is, we already talked about knowing what he'll do, and then the question is, do I let him close? And the answer is, you can. Also, what to remember when you're closing is, watch this. Do that. And let me tell you why. Okay, so I'm here with him, and I'm trying to throw sky hooks on him, and I'm at the bottom. I can't really get it over. It's trouble. If I just slide my hand up like that, I can get it over a lot easier. You'll find your hook shot, your sky hooks, and your ass wraps are easier at closer range when you just choke up on your sword. So that's another thing to watch for with really good fighters. If you see them choking, they're coming. But before you start going for a close, go ahead and choke. And then when you get here, you'll have ass wraps open and top sides open that they're not ready for. And you won't have to reach so high to throw it. You know, it'll be much less. You have a lot more tip control. Which brings me to, how do you hold your swords? Yeah, so pretty much everybody's thumb out. And the reason why you do that is for tip placement. You have a lot more control when that thumb is out than you do if you're like this. Your wrist hurts a lot more and you lose a lot of control. That thumb, your thumb out like this or even off to the side a little bit guides your sword for you. And it puts it where you want it to go. So, I would recommend that. That grip is very good. So that is ranging and distance. We'll kind of spend some time here talking about the press, even though that gets into a little bit about shot selection. So if I'm fighting him and I want to close that distance, I do exactly what I mentioned. I slide my foot up and then I get right here with him. And most of Amp-Guard doesn't know what to do with when you're shield to shield with him. Don't shield bash, but you can shield press or shield rub. I don't care what you want to call it. As long as you're not bashing, if you're right here, that's the way I'm not bashing. And then you have here, all kinds of shots open. And people don't like you in their personal space. It makes them nervous. So get in their personal space. Most of the amp guard doesn't do that, and they're not used to it, so it'll throw them. So that's important. But that's how you close that distance. Slide that foot up, or the other one is just jump it. So you let your left foot lead and just leap forward and get right here. Do whatever you want to do from there. We'll talk about those shots later, but those are the ways to close. So I would recommend, if you don't press very often, then work on pressing often. Especially if you don't press often, when you go home, you'll throw the fighters that you fight with off a lot if you press them, because they're not used to you pressing. Especially if you're a back pedal fighter. They really won't be ready for that. So I think is the next important thing, is everything I told you so far with ranging and distance and defense, with the gangster lean and all. The way you defeat those things is by faking. So now we'll talk about the different kinds of fake, what I call like the ultimate fake or the primary fake, and then we'll go into a few other foot fakes and stuff like that. So, and then we'll practice both ranging and distance and some of these fakes. So one of the best fakes and easiest fakes to do goes like this. That's all you have to do. Just punch down kind of towards your groin, right there, and then, so if I'm going to do that to you, I'm going to come up, I'm going to punch down. Look what he did. What am I going to do? Damn right. Right over. And that's all I did was this. What if he didn't do that? What if he knows I like to go for that shoulder? He opens up, I can come down here. Come out. He comes high, go down here. Come up. So that fake is so easy. Oh, don't fake moves. New people, they're not going to react to your fakes. So you can sit here and throw all kinds of crazy stuff that you want, and they're just going to stand there and like swing at you, because that's all they know how to do. So make sure you use your fakes on who they're appropriate for, and then just give it a good, come up high, low, whatever their shield does, you can react to it. So that's one fake. If you're fighting Florentiners, there's a couple ways to approach it. Always stab them. That's the main thing, but sometimes they're looking for that, so they're going to block it, or try to range or whatever. Again, you'll slide that foot up, like I already talked about. But if you fake out towards their arm, they're very worried about their arms getting hit, so they'll go to block that. Just go ahead and stab them after that, right in the stomach, chest, whatever. The other one is to pump one stab right here, and then go ahead and give them a stab to finish them off. Because what they'll do is, if you go like this, they're going to go, and then they just opened up a whole range of stabs for you. Give them another one. Get them reacting to what you want them to do. There's that fake. The next fake that I like to use, a lot of people like to throw this shot. I don't really recommend that shot, but it's a good fake since a lot of people like to throw it. Go ahead and just bring your hand down to here, and they'll be like, oh, I know this shot, and they'll adjust to it. And then after they make the adjustment, you'll do the same thing. You'll come across and go. And see, he didn't even adjust to it, and I still got over. So it's like a press move.
So it's down and up.
And then over the top, yeah. And if you're going to press hard with it, go ahead and choke. Come down, and then just go over the top. All you need is to see something. If you can see it, that means you can hit it with your sword. That's the whole point to a fake, is just to get that little opening you need to hit them. And that's why sword side hips are very vulnerable, because you can almost always see them. And that's why we do our best to keep them back in a way. Because it's kind of important to get some power behind your stuff. So there's two ways to really get power. And one is to rotate your arm over like that. That's how spin and the ropes teach how to get power in your shots, and like kind of, throw your hip into it for power. He can tell you how they do it better than I can. Now, how we teach power is to actually pop your wrist. It's different. It looks almost the same, but it's very different. So, come here real quick. So, if I'm just doing this, I'm not really doing that well. My arm's doing a lot of the work. Or this. If if I put my wrist, if I go ahead and break my wrist into it though, and I come back, you're gonna have to kill him. But get some good. It's not gonna hurt him. If they say you're swinging too hard, you're not swinging. If you're okay, then maybe. Even still, I don't think you are, but I'm from the CK. So just go ahead and work on that. When I talked about in the bag, popping your wrist. At first, do it really slow, right? So I'm gonna do 50 really slow and just make sure it feels right. Feels good.
What's the purpose of getting strength into it?
Because if I throw a wrap without any power, it's not gonna be fast. And you need power because, like, if I hit him like this, where I'm from, that's barely a shot. But if I hit him like that, where I'm from, that's a shot everywhere in the empire. You know, that's still really a shot. One, people may or may not feel it. I don't think they're intentionally sluffing, but they're in the middle of the heat of battle, and it's really hard to feel that. But if you get some pop behind it, they're gonna feel it. So if you get pop behind it, it's not gonna kill anybody.
I was gonna say I don't swing too hard, but like when you got their skin open or a sore muscle like the arm here, I feel almost bad each time I keep hitting it the same place. So
It's fun noodle. They'll be okay. We're all big people here and adults. It's fun noodle. You're not gonna hurt anybody that bad. So, you know, go ahead and swing. Give him a good shot because a lot of people, and some of them are here, aren't gonna take it unless it's a good shot. So, just remember, give him a good one. It won't hurt him. So work on that. Like I said, work it slow first. Just teach your body that it's comfortable to throw shots like that. So slow, and then maybe the last 25, the last 50, or do an extra 100. Those are all fast and really just cranking it, right? So all you're doing is you're retraining your body that this is how shots are supposed to be thrown. This is what shots feel like when I throw them. So when you do it, you'll be popping people. Again, no one's gonna